Everybody ready?
Ready?
No edits, no filter. Episode 32, take one.
Hey, like that for an open clap.
Yes, it is.
Episode 32. Welcome back. We're glad everybody's here. Friday afternoon again. Getting together with the gang. A little no edits, no filter. Having a little Joe on a rainy day here in Nashville. It's been a rainy day today. And,
you guys having coffee. A couple of us just having water.
Agua. Thank you, Dustin. Yeah, nobody got anything in their cup they shouldn't have, or do they? Because we're not going to do that on no edits, no filter.
Well, he's half pretzel over there. He's half pretzel. So.
Pretzel, who's half pretzel?
I was about to say let's go. Let's go around and introduce ourselves, even though some of us are regulars.
I think it's a great idea. John, will you start us off, buddy?
What?
Tell everybody who you are.
My name is John. I've been here for 2 years.
Yep.
I live in Nashville.
Cool. What have you been working on lately?
Computers.
Learning how to use a computer, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. And you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Kudos to you.
You're blowing me away, Big John.
Good. Excellent.
I'm blowing you
All by
away.
himself now. He's typing.
It's awesome. Since your first email a few weeks ago, man, you're on a roll.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here, dude. Next,
I'm Nathaniel.
Nathaniel.
Yep.
Excellent. What are you working on around here?
Mostly fulfillment.
Cool. Doing lots of fulfillment. I like
He's
that.
also our evil overlord.
Evil overlord.
Oh,
It's
God.
pretty tough. Okay.
It's
Shane?
a hard job.
It is. It is a tough job to be the evil overlord. All right.
I'm Shane, the monarchist.
The monarchist. That's right. Shane the monarchist. Mr. Renaissance. Mr. Monarchy. I like it.
Mr. Research.
Yeah. What have you been doing lately?
Researching stuff for the podcast for the American Revolution.
Cool, man. That's awesome.
Everything you think about it is wrong. But yeah.
Oh, really? You're going to turn the American Revolution upside down?
Yes.
I like it. I look forward to
So
that.
wait, the British wasn't the bad guy?
The British weren't coming.
No,
British.
The point is that most of the founding fathers were not hardcore Republicans, but were actually royalists who were initially fighting under the royal standard, actually.
Wow, you're getting a shameless plug in for your upcoming Revolution podcast. I like
Yeah.
that. Very nice. Next.
I'm Dustin. Been living back here in Nashville, going on 2 years.
Yep. We like having you around, and you're the show opener, aren't you, Dustin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, of course.
I'm Matthew Sternberg
Cool.
from Hendersonville.
What you got going? What are you working on right now? Give yourself a shameless plug.
Well,
A short one.
working on another new show.
A new venture. We'll leave it at that. How's that?
Yeah, it's a new IP. That's
Excellent.
what I call it.
A new IP. I'm Tom. Here in Nashville.
Intellectual property.
There you go. Intra-electrical. I like that.
Intellectual, whatever it's called.
Or it could be intra-electrical. I like that.
It's a new.
You're building a lamp.
The electricity in the brain
It's
is
a welding
I
show.
thought you were trying to say intellectual.
He was.
I think he is.
He was.
Okay.
And we're giving him grief. He's going to hit me, I think. No, you're teasing. I know you're teasing. Go. Who got here?
So tempted, but I'm not.
Oh, hey.
For old time's sake, Riley from Raleigh.
Riley from Raleigh.
Raleigh
There you
from
go.
Raleigh.
Alright, I'm Brad from Tom's Station.
Excellent.
Alex Dart. I've lived here in Nashville for 8 months now.
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons guru over there.
Yes,
Sure.
I play a lot of D&D, and all things audio are
All
my
things
wheelhouse.
Very cool. And we have a very special guest. Introduce yourself, please, sir.
take the special out.
Because he's half pretzel.
Yes,
He's half
exactly.
Just since his name.
Michael Hutzel. Been in the Nashville area for a little while, and I'm one of the co-founders of Fox Fuel Creative.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really glad you're here today, Michael. We've been
for
trying to
having
get you over here. Michael and I go way back through American Ad Federation, have been friends for, gosh, probably 8 years now, something crazy, ridiculous amount of time. I don't know,
yeah.
something like that. And real proud of his success. He's grown an agency here in town called Fox Fuel Creative. They came from out of nowhere, really. Had a couple of big clients that they brought away from another place, and we're going to ask him some questions about that. They've grown a great shop. They're one of the movers and shakers in the ag community now. They put themselves on the map. Top 10 shop in town right now, right?
Yep.
Doing great.
Bottom of the top list.
Bottom of the top, but headed up, and and really doing some great work in the boutique world, which is really where agencies
You
have
must
sort of
have a
gone.
nice office with multiple floors and there's shrimp cocktail bars everywhere.
I like. Are we missing the shrimp cocktail
It's
bar?
not-
Is that
okay,
what we do?
It's more like water and popcorn, and we're in an old house.
See,
Yeah,
that's like us.
pretty low
Water,
budget.
coffee, and an old house. Ours is I'm just happens to be a warehouse.
You just don't have the popcorn.
We-
You got to step up on the time.
We
Yeah.
do need to step it up. It does make the place smell better too, right?
Absolutely.
I guess
Yeah.
after all. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about what it's like to run a boutique agency in Nashville, Tennessee, right now.
Oh, it's crazy.
Hey, real quickly,
Yeah.
is that the topic?
Michael's just going to be our guest. We're going to talk about advertising today. Yeah, I'll get that topic out of the way. We're going to talk about advertising in the Nashville community.
Ponzi scheme, Ponzi scheme,
See?
Ponzi scheme.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Okay,
Peter has
clearly, but-
ran
So
a
yeah, we are going to be
successful
talking
Ponzi
about
scheme.
advertising then. Ponzi schemes that's an advertising.
That's an
agency.
advertising agency, exactly. Wow, Matt.
Yeah.
You just cut to the chase
Yeah,
right there.
that was the summation of it.
So yeah, we're going to talk about advertising and marketing in Nashville, a little bit about what we're in, right? And Michael is in that game, and I want to hear from his side of things, what it's like to run a boutique shop here in town.
Yeah, absolutely. So I went to school up in Western Kentucky, and I got my BFA in design. I actually didn't want to own my own agency until about halfway through my career. I think the first thing I would say about running a boutique is it's a lot about stuff that you don't learn how to do in school, right? So it's all the things on top of like whatever your craft or specialty or whatever you learn.
Yeah.
Owning a business or running a shop like that is, I think, adaptability and being willing to like jump in and lend a hand to whatever needs to be done, which seems like you guys kind of have that community here.
Yeah.
Is very, very much similar. It's about getting the work done.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah.
So what kind of team do you have? Are you mainly a design shop? Are you mainly a strategy shop? What would you
Yeah.
say Fox Fuel is kind of hanging their shingle on right now?
Yeah, I'd say we kind of focus in a couple key areas. We definitely identify as a marketing agency, more so than an advertising agency. We specialize a lot in like branding. We're pretty full service on that front. We do a lot of digital, and then we also do marketing strategy, branding strategy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. And you came at it from the art side, right? So you can
That's
kind of
right,
come
that's
at
my
it from any
background.
side, right?
Yeah, so I worked my way up. I was kind of doing design, worked at a few shops in town, moved my way up to art director, and then I was a creative director, and then that's when we kind of decided to start Fox Fuel.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so I definitely prescribe to the jack of all trades, master of none type of thing.
Yep.
Same here.
We've got
Same
a house full of those right around here. Good.
Yeah, and it's really benefited well. I think the shop kind of emulates that a little bit too. We definitely have a lot of things, and I think us having experience in opportunities outside of our typical things really help us get better in the other. So, for instance, if we were doing healthcare projects, we always can bring something fresh and cool to it because we've done some work on the retail or hospitality front.
Cool.
So finding those things where they can kind of commingle and inform and inspire the other things, and I think that's true of people in their careers as well.
Because you can get pigeonholed, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
in a certain
You get into
industry.
a routine, you get into a rut, things
Yep.
don't.
And you don't. Do you have backwater meetings?
What does that mean?
I don't know what a backwater meeting
Okay,
is.
what?
Probably.
I don't think I've heard of that before. Backwater meeting.
Is a backwater like behind the scenes?
Like
under
it's like what's the passcode sort of meeting?
Oh, secret
the,
meetings.
it's double
Yeah.
secret probation meetings.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't have any of those.
Oh,
Great movie.
Sounds like a secret
Great
society type of thing.
Yeah. There is sort of that in the ad agency world, a little bit of that.
Yeah.
I would
I'm
say.
convinced Tom has backwater meetings with Peter over there.
Get on to us, man.
Hey, no wonder y'all meet every day, after every class.
Are these cameras like stuck in certain places
they-
and they're watching this theater? Is that
They
it?
are audio experts, so I have no doubt that the meetings are bugged.
That's exactly right. Yes, that's exactly right.
Listening in on it.
Well, let's talk about marketing, guys. I love that marketing is sort of that all encapsulating word right now. You know, it's become PR, advertising, any messaging, everything's sort of gotten put onto that marketing tool. Would you agree with that, or is that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's. I think digital is really what's changed the word advertising into marketing. I think
Yeah.
because the way you can get something out there has become available to everybody.
Yeah.
And with that being spread and open to everybody, the value of the distribution of it, the old advertising, the clients don't see the value of it anymore. So
Right.
now it's kind of focused, in my opinion, back on the what are you producing,
Right.
instead of where are you producing it.
Yep.
And so that's why, our shop is very much built around that. And I think
Cool.
that was one of the things in Nashville specifically that was kind of lacking. I think there was a lot of old models that had been adopted to move into the other. And so what we saw was an opportunity to be like, well, what if we just built it the way clients really need it now,
Right.
which is focused purely on the crafting the work.
So you're on the side of the table with the client as opposed to being on the opposite side taking assignments. You're really in the trenches with them.
That's right. Yeah, our success depends a lot on how well do we know their business. Do we see opportunities, knowing who their audience is, anticipating or meeting their needs, and not being paid off of how much they're going to fund that effort with media buys and all that. It's more, you're going to pay us for our expertise to craft this work.
Right.
So and from that aspect, we're kind of more like a design agency, right?
Right.
Where we're getting paid to do the work, but we're really kind of competing on the front of the advertising agency where we can do campaigns or rebranding efforts or
Sure.
kind of rethinking everything top to bottom.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody got questions out of the gate for,
Yeah,
for
I'd love to
Michael?
answer questions.
Anybody got something they wanted to ask about advertising or marketing in the Nashville community, or somebody that's at a big agency out here in town? Or anybody got any
Design, writing, you
I've,
name it.
I've in doing a little bit of research and also keeping in keeping with the I did a little bit of research and noticed your firm did a huge campaign for technically the government.
Mhm.
Well, pre-check.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
was it? I realized you weren't working directly with the government.
Yeah.
But what was that whole project like?
Oh, not unlike going to the airport, unfortunately.
Let
a
me
lot
guess.
of long lines, a lot of waiting. Yeah.
And a lot of elevator music.
Can you talk about this? Is it something you can talk about?
Yeah, absolutely can.
Cool. Tell
yeah,
us a little bit about the project and who hired you and how it went, if you can.
So all of the TSA pre-check, if you guys are familiar, basically what that is you go through a background check, right? And
Yeah.
Pre 9/11 security, basically.
yeah, and so what it does is it.
Why do we
gives-
have pre?
Hold on.
Oh, he's fine. So the gist of it is you can get through the airport security line faster, right? You get to check a couple things because they have a little bit more information about you on the front, and you've been deemed
Safe.
less of a risk.
Yes.
You pay
Yes.
$85 for 5 years, and you basically get to cut the line.
So what was your assignment that
Yeah.
did somebody from TSA come to you?
So they actually, TSA uses a company called Identigo to facilitate and promote all of the background checks, right? So they're the ones who are actually signing everybody up, and they actually do all the kiosks, and then basically it gets filed with TSA at the airport to do the check, right? But Identigo gets paid as part of their agreement on how many people I can get signed up for it. So we worked with Identigo to do their spring-summer campaign, and one of the things that we brought to the table for them was, you know, they had already done some research to see that all the typical business travelers are pretty well informed about it. You know, it's what we would call a saturated audience,
Sure.
meaning that they've all heard, they've either elected to do it or they're not likely to. But there was a whole other group, which have been affectionately termed the millennials, that are traveling but doing it for different reasons, so leisure travel and all that. So they tasked us with creating a campaign to reach out to that segment,
Cool.
and to drive up those numbers with the next generation of business travelers.
Cool.
Probably in the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to
Yeah.
be the main business travelers, which is really their bread and butter.
So government work is
Yeah.
tough, man. There's a lot of red tape, a lot of people to go through, a lot of people to approve.
That's right. It's death by committee, right?
Yeah.
You have
Like what-
Sounds brutal. Death by committee.
It
I
is.
charge you guilty of this many counts of.
Yes, if you're lucky.
So they do walk around giving you 40 lashes with a wet noodle.
Oh, yeah, via email.
That's even worse. course, and then they use drones to drop IRS forms at the door or something.
Wow,
A lot of
man.
paperwork.
Matt works for
Yeah.
Precheck, I think.
That's, I think you heard about
I'm
that
their
in one of those
local
backwater
dictator.
meetings.
Yeah, is that a backwater meeting info?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You're the one holding those now.
Yeah, so with that, there was, you always have a client that you do that, and really, for us, if we can get that down to 1 or 2 people,
Yeah.
then we'll usually have an easier project, as you guys can attest to. But with the case of that, you not only had Identigo, but you had a parent company for them and TSA.
Wow.
And so a lot of pitching, a lot of approvals, a lot of, changing the work is how I'll say it.
Yep.
To kind of make sure that everybody's agreed with the overall effectiveness and that we're hitting everything that they need to hit to from all their different perspectives and challenges. So yeah, definitely a fun project and also a kind of a challenging one just because of jumping through all the hoops
Sure.
with it. Like I said, it's like going to the airport.
Yeah, yeah.
You got to go through a lot to get to the end, but usually it's worth it.
There's a lot of our industry that's kind of sexy and fun and exciting and all that, and then there's a lot of it that's mundane, right? I mean, that's kind of what you were talking about with starting a business. There's a lot of what we get to do where it's that last day, and we get to present our piece, we get to show us
I just
something.
want to point out, I might be, just texted my mother that I'm ready.
So that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I was about to call you out. I was
Yeah.
literally about to say, okay, Cody.
Well,
That's all right. Do what you gotta do. I see. I'm captivating your attention here. I see what you're doing.
okay.
But the idea there is it's a lot of fun stuff we get to do around here. We get to produce things and do stuff, but there's a lot of work to it too, right? I mean,
And then we get to make fun of Tom.
yeah. Then you make fun of me. That's right. But there's a lot of work
And
to
then
it,
he
right,
makes
guys?
fun of us, so it's even.
But there's a lot of pre-work or back work or whatever that goes into it that's not seen and that's not kind of that fun idea or that fun slogan or that fun thing
And then
that
I
we all
have
think about as
sometimes, like
marketing.
today, setting up this podcast. We had this other tripod, but we don't have another one of those, and
So you got to make do.
It just sends
and
you
work
off
around?
the edge, doesn't it?
no, it doesn't. It's sort of no, it doesn't. Riley, you're thinking of like no, it doesn't. It's like okay,
It annoys
Alex.
you, basically.
Alex. I mean, I'm gonna say something good about Alex here.
Wow.
Because he keeps track of this stuff, and I just feel like, we need to put like a laser grid fence over our video equipment, so if someone borrows it, and we put a tracker on it, so we can't lose it.
It's just as simple as if no matter how mundane the piece of equipment it feels like it's just a stand,
Yeah.
Just a stand needs to get checked out.
There you go. Exactly.
I know. I'm just like a fan of order. I just like things.
Well, if you pick it up, put it back.
That's
Well,
even better than you
If
found
you
it,
pick
right?
it up, sign it out. And
So
then
let me
put it
ask
back.
guys, what's the difference, Nate? What do you think the difference in marketing and advertising might be? Do you have any thoughts on that? What the difference in advertising and marketing are?
Rectangle to square,
Meaning what? In what way?
meaning that all squares are rectangles, not all rectangles are squares.
So all marketing is advertising, or all advertising is marketing?
All advertising is marketing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In the old days, it used to be. That's a great point. Advertising was what you paid to place, right? It was a message that you paid to place. Marketing is something that drives a sale, in my opinion. It's something that leads the consumer for a product or a service to that place, and then the sales team has to close the deal. I mean, that's part of it. But marketing is about creating awareness. It's about driving traffic, whether it's
And
to a
then
site.
via dropping IRS forms via drone.
All right, and that could be marketing. Drone dropping can be a marketing tool, right? I mean, it sure can. Absolutely. Say that again?
And dressing the product up.
Dressing the product up. I think Michael was alluding to that. I think that's a great point. It can even drive the change of a product, right? Marketing can drive the change of what a product does and how it works. And I think that's a great point. Advertising wouldn't do that. It would just be a campaign that would talk about the product.
Black Friday's gonna be a big giant marketing.
Why is
It
that?
already is.
But wait, tell me why on next Friday, a week from today, where we won't be back here because we're all going to be hanging out with our families,
Eating turkey
right? But why is that day an important marketing day? What does it do?
because it drives traffic. It drives capitalism. It drives the dollar bill, y'all.
There you go. That's exactly right. And I think that's what marketing does. Shane, would you agree with that? Any additional thoughts?
I mean,
What I was gonna say, corporate culture as well as part of marketing.
Talk. What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of days, people talk about social or responsibility and things like corporate responsibility and things like that. And, I don't know.
So a corporate culture can be a tool for marketing. Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
yes.
And what a corporation stands for and what they do is a lot more important than it used to be, I think. And I would agree with you 100%. I think the millennials are driving that. I think there's a heart out there in consumerism that's being driven by that. I mean, we see a little bit of that around here. I think people really dig what we're trying to do here. And so, whether we're using that or not to drive traffic, I think it just naturally does. A good story does that.
that photo of you with the backwards cap will drive traffic.
Yeah, that's
Oh
good.
my
That'll drive the rats away.
Here we go again. Here we go again.
They have pictures of me, Michael. That
Well, and now
that
Dieter.
come out.
Dieter. Now Dieter.
You have pictures of Dieter now too?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll show you after filming.
Okay, good. Thank you. Let's not do it on camera. It might be embarrassing. I know that he signed away the rights to that.
LeBron Hayes.
Brad, what do you think? Brad, what do you think about marketing? You've been around this game for a while. You're a videographer, an editor.
Yep.
What role does video play these days in marketing for you? What do you think?
Just one way to communicate, I think. Just show what we do around here.
So it can provide insight into a product or a service. Is that a good way to put that or not?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Okay, cool. Would you agree with that, John?
Yeah.
What's your over the years you've been marketed to? Somebody's tried to sell you something. What marketing that you've seen in the public, guys? Maybe any of you is something that you really enjoy. Is there something that you've seen, a campaign out there recently that's kind of caught your attention? Anybody want to share one?
So, before all that,
Yeah.
a campaign can have is always two-sided. There are some people that think it's miscommunicating.
Okay.
Just like when you misread my text and picking me up.
You told me you were going to bring that up today, and you did. Thank you. It's now on camera. So,
Yeah. Now we're laying it down. folks.
marketing can be misrepresenting something. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I don't want to lead your words, but
Yeah. No.
And then
go to the two sides now that you've got me on camera, not picking you up. Go to the two sides you're talking about. Marketing can do two things.
So, before I digressed, my point was, your market, say Fox Fuel's targeting the millennials and not necessarily you, Dieter, or John.
He just
The
called
old
us
guy.
old.
No,
I'm
Go
not
ahead.
a millennial. I'm not a millennial.
Go ahead.
no,
Go ahead with your
You
point.
did.
We're messing you up.
no,
Right.
y'all's generation might misconstrue the message they're trying to send for.
I was born in
millennials.
1997.
Hold on. I want him to finish this.
So-
Just one sec. You're on a good track. Keep going. So the message to millennials is
The
one
message,
message that might not reach me.
Exactly.
Okay? Keep going.
And then vice versa. Advertisements from y'all's day might not translate that well to us.
So let's talk about that. That's really important. So let's say there's a product like toothpaste. We all use toothpaste,
Yeah.
right? Everybody,
We
we hope we all use
we
toothpaste.
use mouthwash too.
You use mouthwash too. So let's talk about then dental hygiene. So we're brushing our teeth and we are using mouthwash. So you're saying that in order to market to a millennial, that may be one message, right?
Yes.
And in order to market to old guys like John and Dieter and I,
I hated to use that,
but you had to go there.
I kind of had to go there.
I know. And so, but you're saying there might be a different message that could drive the same sale of that product. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And
So how important is it to have, I'm going to ask Michael this. How important is it, Geico has done a really interesting job of this. In fact, we were in a seminar with a guy, weren't you there that day that he came and spoke? Or,
Maybe.
Anyway, talked about having 6 or 8 campaigns going at once.
Don't mention dental floss.
Oh, and floss. Okay, good. Let's stay on the teeth thing. I want to, then we'll stay there.
yeah,
So let's,
clearly we're clearly we're prone to digressing.
Into oral hygiene right now. So we're talking about oral hygiene. But John, we'll stay there. So let's say, how important, Michael, is it to have one slogan, one message, and say it in different ways, or can it be totally different messages and you know, two different markets, different audiences? Share with us what your guts on that.
I think it first depends on what you're selling.
Okay.
You know, I think for something like toothpaste, I think it makes complete total sense, especially if you have like a powerful brand like a Crest or a Colgate, where you already have the recognition, and so if they have like a new product that has something special, you can kind of trade it to different things.
All right, cool.
The other thing that he was tracking on that I thought was really, really good is that oftentimes to say something that's really effective and is going to reach people, you have to be willing to alienate some other people. And so what I mean by that is if there's going to be something that really resonates with a young audience and they love it, an older person or that parent might look and be like, I don't get that.
Not
or
my
why
product.
did that make sense? And so almost underscoring how well it's working at that younger generation who might be very much the only audience for that.
And
that
maybe
product.
one of the reasons the younger audience is buying it is that it's not made for old folks.
Which is why the whole strategy part of who's your audience, who you're trying to sell it to, what's the future, are you going to do any damage to that brand in the future for somebody else that you want to reach out to? Because you start making associations, so that's for young people or this is for older people. You can very much do. Every brand has a personality, right? And so making sure that you're kind of accommodating that. There's so many layers of work that kind of go into that to think through what's the master plan of all that stuff.
What's your favorite mouthwash? That the ones that burn your lips or whatever.
One of my favorites, and I don't think I can find it anymore, and this is going to prove Riley's point that I'm old, is Levoris. And I can't find Levoris. Anybody ever heard of Levoris?
You can probably find it on Amazon or something.
I probably could. It might be used, though.
Yeah, exactly. You find one that's been sitting in a warehouse for like,
what about
it's pure
Scope?
gasoline.
Scope's good. I like Scope. Let me ask you a question, though. I want to go to Michael's point real quick. Let's say you alienate a certain marketplace. I think that's important to be able to do. Go be what you are, right? Is that kind of where you were headed with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to be willing to do that.
I think to go back to the TSA example, I mean, I think when you've identified a goal of, hey, we want to get 25 to 45-year-olds, and we want them to do that, and they're in this area, you're going to have to say something that specifically resonates to them, potentially at the detriment or damaging of another audience, or at the most you're ignoring them in that. And so
let me ask this. Marketing can come from two ways. We've been around this game a long time, me a lot longer than you. There's two ways to look at the message. It can come and say what you want to say, or it can come to the consumer and say what they need to hear. Where would you play with that from a strategy point? Do you go consumer side first? Because I tend to do that. I tend to want to look at it from the consumer's eyes. Or do you go product and messaging side to really get that point across? Where would you land on that?
So
you understand the difference, guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I'm tracking.
Whether we're writing this to say what the product or brand wants to say, or are we creating a marketing campaign to say what the client or consumer needs to hear? That's what I'm asking.
Again, I think it's situational. I think for us, a lot of times we're dealing in a lot of scenarios where it's a business to a business, right? And so the fight that we're usually fighting is not necessarily that one. It's let's not get to the details too quickly. Let's talk about what the value of this is and make more of an emotional story out of it and kind of connect with them on a human level. And then we can talk about facts and bullet points.
Cool.
I think that's a big struggle, right? And so that's kind of a tactical way to get at what you're talking about. I think the agencies and like here and Fox Fuel and others, and the biggest ones in the world, I think the biggest thing that they have to offer their clients is we can empathize and be as if we're their audience, right? We can come from their perspective and kind of speak of this is what people want to hear from, because a lot of times these companies are really needing to hear that instead of what's going on there all day, every day. You kind of get
into the
blinders
self-speak.
on and you forget all the stuff.
Get into the tower speak. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Alex?
So going back for a second to you were talking about you have to be willing to alienate an audience. Does the I don't want to say recent because it's been around for a while, but like the relatively recent emergence of like the abundance of platforms to advertise on, does that change your ability to reach more people with different messages? Because like, for example, like, you know, I won't say exclusively, but by and large, the users of like social media like Facebook are going to be older than people who use like,
Yeah.
you know, Instagram, Snapchat, things like that.
Yeah.
So do you craft different messages based on what platform you're going to be advertising on, be it TV or
Absolutely.
Facebook or?
Yep. So if you want to go back to 20, 25 years, you didn't really have anything, at least from the public's perspective, that was available on the internet. People just weren't using it day in and day out. Now you have present day, everybody's got an iPhone, they have their own social feeds, they basically have their internet customized to all the things that they like, where they are in their life, and so the difference for us is we can go in and say, I know the exact specific person I need to talk to, and I can find them. Whereas 25 years ago, it's like, I'm going to put it everywhere in the hopes that they come across it, right? So it's magazines and TV and all that stuff. So I spent a lot of money, which is really the reason why it switched from advertising to marketing, like I was kind of talking about, is now any agency can go in there and say, well, if I need a 35-year-old who lives in Oklahoma and is in this line of work, I can find that person.
Right.
Instead of, I'm going to buy all the TV out there and hopefully he turns it on one day and sees it. And if he doesn't, I don't know if he will or not.
The old funny comment, 50% of my advertising is working, I just don't know which 50%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
That seems like a
Well, it was
gamble.
it was a huge gamble.
Yeah.
I mean, and people spent literally billions of dollars annually advertising to people they were hoping were seeing the message. And now what Michael's saying is you can literally pull a bullet out instead of shotgunning. You can go find that individual that you're really looking for.
Specialized.
dead on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So to your to the targeted point, like to the targeting point, there's a car dealership in the Raleigh area called Johnson Automotive Group, and years ago they were in the middle of doing an ad campaign, and I challenge especially you two, but everyone in this circle to go look up Johnson Badger. It's, I might be wrong, might be in the key word, but I think it was done by the same people that did Geico, like the Gecko.
Oh, cool. Awesome. You like the campaign?
Well, I think the whole story behind it is the used car salesman kind of mantra, like badgering you in, pun intended, badgering you into a car.
Oh, I got you. Cool. And they don't. Is that what they're saying?
I think so.
Cool.
Like the meme.
Shane does a lot of research for us. Let's talk about research in knowledge before we shoot. You know, it's measure twice, cut once is the old carpenter saying. You know, you're doing a bunch of research for us before we go out and market several of the companies we have around here and things we're doing, and you've done a great job of that. Michael, talk to us a little bit about how important it is to you
And
talked
he's
about client side.
he's also Brad's personal scriptwriter.
And he's Brad's personal scriptwriter.
Oh,
That's right. That's exactly right. So how important is it to, before we go and send that message out, to really do some research behind that?
Well, I mean, I think the obvious stuff is it's going to make the work better, right?
Yeah.
But I think the other part that, for me in my line of work, what it's really interesting is it helps take a little bit more of the subjectivity out of the work, right? So if we all kind of agree on, you know, the research that's there, it's not, this is my opinion versus your opinion, and let's argue about it. That's what the research says, like we have a path here that we need to. So I think, plainly said, it takes a little bit more of the subjectivity out of it,
Cool.
where it makes it more obvious what the solution is.
And it backs up your creative outlet, as opposed to, like you're saying, it's just some sort of nebulous thing you've taken a customer. It's based on you got to back out, don't you?
I gotta back out, but
Tell everybody goodbye, Matt.
goodbye. Have a happy Thanksgiving holiday.
See you, buddy.
And also, family comes first before work.
There you go. See you, brother.
See you, man.
Hi, Matt.
Hug your family.
See you, Matt. I will.
I think that's a first. We've had somebody get up and walk out on no edits, no filter. Usually it's Cody. Now we get to talk.
Oh my God!
Now watch out, Matt. Watch out. No edits, no filter. We're going to talk about you though. Anyway, so yeah, that's cool. We were almost done anyway, but go ahead, Alex.
So I was just adding on to what I was saying earlier.
Cool.
Just, do you now, whereas like you were saying 20, 25 years ago, you made one message and you put it everywhere in hopes that you would see it. Do you now make 6 or 7 different messages and stick them different places based on who is most active on that platform or in that area, things like that?
Absolutely, yeah. I would say what we try to strive for is one kind of cohesive general message, and then we'll personalize it or slightly vary it, that message because, hey, we're going to run an ad on Spotify, and so there's an opportunity to incorporate the music that you're listening to or something like that. So, yeah, but ideally, the thing that happens too is that as that user clicks on that ad or engages with something to do it, they're all kind of basically meeting at the same place or going to take the same action, whether it's buying something or subscribing for something. And so you can kind of see you might have lots of roads out there, but they all lead to the same place, right?
Cool.
And so knowing that there needs to be some similar language to kind of make sure that they know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Michael, so all these guys have been working on production stuff around here. We've done production for you. We've done some animation work in the past for you, some audio work.
Absolutely.
It's been fun to work together. Do you have any questions for them or any advice for these guys, either way, side of that, about what they're doing or advice for them of why content and production might be really important? I know, and I'll frame it this way, set it up a little tighter for you than that. Production has changed. The days of all of these cameras and big lights and da-da-da-da. You got a laptop and an iPhone and you can go to town,
Absolutely.
But in some cases, a set like this is necessary.
That's right. So talk to us a little bit about that, how production has changed for you and maybe some tips for these guys as we start to exit creativity today.
I think your ability always just needs to match whatever is needed, right? And so that's why it's always good to be a little bit over prepared for a situation. And so if you are going to a shoot or something like that, I would always say, my mom would always say, it's prepare for the worst, hope for the best, right? And so I definitely think for production crews that's always kind of smart. I think the other thing especially when we're going out doing a video shoot or a photo shoot is being adaptable, right? We can always have the best laid plans, right? We'll have the entire shot list, 100%, things completely storyboard, but inevitably what happens is we'll get in there and something happens. It might be the weather happens, which none of us can control, and then we have to scramble and figure something out. And so having a crew or partners or just one whoever it is, they need to be kind of down for the first and foremost goal is not do what you agreed exactly what you're going to do, is to achieve the mission of the day, which is to get something done. So I think that would be my first bit of advice.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll share a little story on that. We had a shoot we were doing a long time ago for a sugar company, and we were going to have a lemonade stand. And so we had the lemonade stand made, and it was out, and we were ready to go. And it was a sunny, beautiful day the day before. We go build the set out there, and everybody's ready to go. And the next day it snowed while we were having the lemonade.
How old was this?
Snowed. It was a long time ago, John, because we're old. And but it was.
Had to make the point.
I
Sorry.
know, it's all right. And so, but we turned the lemonade stand into a hot chocolate stand. And right there, we, adaptable, and it was all the production company's deal. So you're exactly right. Be ready and prepared.
Yep.
Have everything you possibly need.
And that's usually something that experience will teach you, right? So it's something that you can be told, but until you go through that, and you're like, you should have done it that way.
Have an extra battery pack. Have everything ready.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so, kind of leaning on the people who have that wisdom and stuff like that, I'd say is a huge, and that doesn't even just fall into production stuff. That's just life.
That is life. That's being prepared. Boy Scout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other thoughts?
I think there's you're going to notice trends in your career. I think there's always going to be, hey, getting it really stripped down and let's shoot this on an iPhone and no lights versus no, let's do it up big. I think there's always going to be changes in that. I think we don't really have a preference. It's just whatever the content really demands, and I think that's the thing that a good production team can really do is take off the handcuffs right? So what it does is it allows us to really focus on what we want to do, and knowing that the partner is going to enable it in any capacity.
Yeah.
And the two just really enable. I liken it to if I got a really good idea of an ad that I want to design or a logo that I want to design, and I don't have to think about how I'm going to do it on my computer. I just need to go down and sit down and do it. That makes the work easier to produce. So you strive for that.
Yep.
Production sets and editing and all that stuff should be the same thing as I can do it flawlessly, so I can kind of stay focused in the moment and make sure that what I'm producing is good. It's kind of freeing, is the way I think about it.
As opposed to letting the tool dictate.
That's right.
Let the idea
So
continue.
you strive for with your programs and your gear and all that stuff. It's the equivalent of holding a pencil and writing.
Right, exactly.
It's thoughtless. You just do it.
Exactly.
So
Good wisdom, man. Any closing questions we have from Michael? Shane, got any questions? Anybody? John? Any thoughts?
Not all of it,
What do you think, Dave? No? Dustin?
No, no question.
Michael, thanks for joining us, man. This
Yeah,
has been
enjoyed
really
it.
fun,
Yeah.
and
Thanks for having me.
we really appreciate you taking time out of a busy day to come and be on the avenue with us here, and
Happy to
no edits, no filter. Dieter, any thoughts?
I think, years ago, we didn't have things like iPhones, so if we needed a camera, we were kind of out of luck, unless you're a photographer. But nowadays, there's no excuse, at least for learning.
They always
If you
said
want to shoot
Kenny
video, you got an
always-
iPhone. If you want to shoot photos, you got an iPhone. If you want to type, you got an iPhone. So there's no reason why you can't be practicing outside of class, outside of jobs, outside,
True. And I
you could be
think
doing stuff.
budget used to dictate that a lot,
Yeah.
and I think now it's not so much budget as it is, as Michael said, it's what's appropriate for the project. What's, sometimes a handheld something is the way to go. Sometimes a way overproduced piece is the way to go. So it just depends.
They've always said Kenny Abrams.
Yep. But they've changed though, John.
Yeah.
What we're saying is everybody has one now. Everybody has a voice. Everybody has the ability to go market themselves. We didn't even go into that. That's, that could be a whole rabbit hole we go down, but we'll do that for another day. I think Michael's gonna come back, and sit in some classes with us and teach some design and
Yeah.
bring some of his staff over and work with you and your team, which will be
Awesome.
great. These guys will be eager to do that. So Michael, thanks for coming and meeting
Thanks
some of
for
the guys
having me, guys.
today. And
Appreciate it,
anybody,
fellas.
who's gonna close us out today?
I got it.
You going?
Hey, big ass taco.
Big ass.
We're done. Big ass taco. We're done.